everybody, it's Aaron coming to you from Software Zero to Hero. Today we've got a quick video that we're going to be doing for our next part of the Sphinx documentation series. And this is using a extension called Auto Build. Auto Build is a really handy extension when you're in the process of building your documentation. Instead of having to go through and make HTML files, those static files each time, and then pull them up and rebuild them each time that you make a change, Auto build is actually going to be an extension that you enable, and you do this through the terminal itself, and it will actually trigger a rebuild of the HTML files in the documentation each time that you make a save. So this will refresh the page and you can see your changes almost instantly instead of having to go through and remake those static HTML files. So first things first, we want to make sure that we're in our directory for the documentation, which we're in the Sphinx documentation here. So we're going to go ahead and ls to see what we have, and we have the test. So we're going to go to cd test. And next we're going to start our environment again, our virtual environment. All right, now that we have that started, we're going to install the auto build. So that command is pip install Sphinx auto build. I have a typo in there. And this will just take a minute or so for it to build up as well. All right, now that we have AutoBuild installed that way, the next thing that we're going to do is we don't have to do like other extensions where we have to go into our conf.py file. It's not a traditional extension in the fact that the documentation is going to use it. And since it's just going to be triggering the rebuild of each HTML page upon those saves, that's why we don't have to actually put that into the comp file. So the next thing we're going to do is actually run a command, which is Sphinx auto build. And then you're going to put source, and wherever the source is that you're going to build these files. So I always traditionally do it under an underscore build slash HTML. So essentially it's the same source that you have for your static HTMLs up here, but it's going to be an underscore build instead. That way you have those separated. So we're just going to go ahead and run that, and you'll see that Sphinx is starting to run with everything here. And it'll just take a second for it to build up. And as all things go well, it went ahead and built up. So you can just hit Control and click on this local here, and it's going to pull that up for you. And here's our test project. So we have everything that we had beforehand with our test project, but now we have it in a new source directory on here. So you'll see that we have that new file or folder up here with the underscore build, and it has everything that's the same for that build project in there. Now I will say, noting if you're going to be doing this and then committing it to a repository, you can do it with those underscore builds and have this through the auto build. But my suggestion is any changes that you make, say to the CSS within the underscore build up here or in the build environment here, you want to do it to both. So that way when you go in and you save everything, it's going to resave it all too. And make sure to make those HTMLs too right before you're done. So that way you have all the current changes in those static HTML files as well. So like we did that earlier case to where we had the custom CSS that we had to build under the source for this and then the static here. So we're going to go ahead and pull that open, and we had under the dash static and dash CSS, we had a custom width that we had to do to make sure that read the docs was actually spaced correctly for it. So we're going to go ahead and copy that file, and we're going to go under the static CSS here, and we're going to go ahead and place that file in here as well. So that way we have it in there. And now this is a good way for you to see, because you see how it kind of cuts off on the screen here to where it doesn't go all the way across. We're going to go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and pull a page up that looks a little bit better with this. So you can see how it kind of cuts off the page about halfway. So in an earlier video, we talked about this when it came to setting it all up. So we're just going to go in here and we're going to save this, and you're going to see everything rebuild on here too. So we're going to go back over to page 1. We're just going to line down and then save. And you'll see it start to build back up with everything. And now that we have that custom CSS within that underscore build path now, we should see a difference in the sizing of our page. So just go ahead and go back over here and we can look at it and we can actually see that it's taken back over the full page for it instead. So we can see all those changes on there now. So now that that's working, we have all that in place for the auto build function. So anytime that you make changes through here, you're going to be able to change any of that. So let's go ahead and change this to, well, let's go ahead and change that typo into welcome to software 0 to hero right there. And let's go ahead and add a second print statement. So now that we have that second print statement in there, let's go ahead and Control S to save that, and we'll have it rebuild here, and we'll check out our page. And you can see that it automatically refreshed the page, and then we have this is after auto build here. So that's it with it. So every time you commit a save on here onto your project on any of the pages, it's actually going to trigger that auto build function. So that way everything builds up and you don't have to remake those static CS or HTML pages each time. But like I did say, before you commit anything, make sure to go in and remake those static HTMLs as well. So that way that build directory and the underscore build directory are the exact same, because you want them to be identical to each other when it comes to the auto build feature on there too. Well, that's all I have for you. Make sure to like and subscribe to the video, and we'll see you on the next video.